Katie Steckly is one of many successful YouTubers who post advice on how to grow your channel. And a few months ago, she posted a video on why so many channels fail. And I just want to give my take on some of what I thought was her best advice. One thing she says is, like, the best content creators make it look easy, right? Of course they do, because they have so much experience. And she said, like, when you're watching a movie and you forget that you're watching a movie, it means it's a good movie. Well, the same thing could be said about YouTube videos. And, you know, she's like, well, for new people, right, it can be really discouraging because you watch these people, it looks so natural, right? Just like great athletes or great musicians. And then you try it and you realize, wow, this is actually going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of work. And it's like you have to keep going even though you have very few subscribers and very few viewers, right? And her advice is just keep trying, right? Just keep going, which of course is excellent advice because if you stop, then your outcome is guaranteed, right? You're not going to go anywhere on YouTube. And my perspective is this: yes, that's good advice, but maybe think about trying to identify your unfair advantage, right? And, you know, people talk about this in business, right? In terms of like what sets you apart from all the competitors in, you know, the marketplace who are like in your field or whatever. And, you know, when I think about unfair advantage, I think for any of you, okay, for any of us, like our unfair advantage, the number one thing that we have that nobody else on the planet has is our combination of our personality and our perspective, right? I mean, not even Mr. Beast, like, you know, as successful as he is, he doesn't have your personality and your perspective. So he can never compete with you, you know, on that level. Now, if you try competing with him in terms of what he does and you're a new YouTuber, it's like, good luck, right? I mean, you have to be super, super lucky, you know, to be successful along that path. But if you do the work to hone your, like, how you can infuse your personality and your perspective into your videos, you set yourself apart from everybody else on the planet. Now, of course, there's a lot of skill you have to develop, but if you focus on your unfair advantage, which is your personality and perspective, nobody else can compete with you. Another thing she says, okay, a lot of people starting out, they talk about their interests, and it's like, oh, you know, I love cooking, I love, like, you know, whatever, bike riding, I love listening to music, and so you do videos on all of these things, and she's like, how many people out there do you think really, you know, have the same exact interests as you do and want to watch all these videos about all of these completely different topics? She's like, look, there's no audience out there for all of your interests. And she's like, okay, sometimes you have lifestyle, you know, channels where, like, you know, big personalities, you know, talk about a lot of different things, but she's like, still, they talk about, like, they all revolve around one, like a specific theme, okay? And, you know, her advice is balance your interests, like what you want to talk about, with what your audience wants to hear. Of course, right? You know, good advice makes total sense. You know, my perspective is this, like, you know, initially, it's really easy to start fretting about, okay, well, how do I find this balance? How do I know what they want to watch? You know, if I just go off what everybody else is doing, yes, you know, that's what people want to watch, but then I have to compete with what everybody else is doing. My perspective is, like, starting off, you're probably not going to know what the theme is to your channel, right? I mean, Mr. Beast didn't know. Like, when he started off, this was like when he was 12 years old, he was making videos of, like, you know, playing video games, whatever. And eventually, after making hundreds and hundreds of videos, he finally found, like, the path that works for him. You know, and like in business, investors talk about this when they're, you know, thinking about investing with, you know, a group of entrepreneurs who want to come up with a product. They're like, we invest in the entrepreneurs more than we do the idea, because we as the investors know that the idea is probably going to change over time. It's probably, the product is probably not going to end up being exactly what the entrepreneurs thought it was going to be when they started out. So, you know, it's the idea of, you're probably not going to know what your theme is right away. So just make a bunch of videos, because you're going to figure this out over time. Like, it took Mr. Beast hundreds of videos to figure out what his theme was. This is like normal. Most people probably don't start off with a crystal clear laser focus on what the theme is, and it's just going to take time. And over time, you will be able to develop that balance between, you know, what your interests are and what people who view your videos want to see. Okay, another point she makes is don't publish videos just to publish videos. So, you know, it's like, okay, you need to make a lot of videos, but don't just, like, churn out video after video just to get something published. not caring whether or not, anybody's going to like it or whether or not the video is any good. She's like, focus on creating a story and a message, because she's like, look, there are people, there are real human beings on the other side of the camera. And you have to speak to these real human beings, and nobody's going to want to watch your stuff if you're not telling them something that interests them. And she makes a good point. She's like, if you look at some of the videos you produce, would you want to watch your stuff? And my perspective is, it's like, you need to publish a lot of stuff because you have to develop experience, and experience, for almost all of us is going to come from just doing it a bunch of times, right? But there was a video I posted a couple days ago, I guess, or whatever, on these guys from Think Media, where they were like, one important lesson is you have to have evaluated experience. So it's like, publish a lot of videos, but you have to reflect on the videos and, say, okay, the last 5 or the last 10 videos, what did I do well? What skills do I need to build? Like, what were just like super boring parts that nobody would want to watch? And then over time, try to develop your skills, try to make, the next 5 or 10 videos a little bit better than the last 5 or 10 videos. I say compare it to a successful creator. One suggestion that might work or might be useful is if you make your video and you don't publish it right away. All right, sit on it overnight, and then the next day, watch a video from a really successful YouTuber, and then watch your video directly after that. And the difference is probably going to be pretty substantial. And then if you just, identify like, okay, what are 2 or 3 things that, this really experienced person does well that I do poorly? And then, maybe think about how you can improve on that over the next, 5 or 10 videos. Another thing, she says, don't be a perfectionist. You have to balance quantity with quality. Like if you're always so scared about making the perfect video and you don't want to release it until you think it's 100% perfect, her point is probably it's more to do with like your own fears, doubts, and insecurities than it is about the video itself. She's like, yes, you do want to put out, quality stuff with information that people are going to want to hear, but she's like, you can't let that stifle, your, progress in actually producing videos. She's like, you need to find a balance between how much you publish and the quality of what you publish. And, my take is this. Yes, that's of course good advice. One thing that I found that's really helpful is if you can get to the point where you're okay with being bad publicly, right? It takes a lot of pressure off. And almost all of us are really bad, okay, at publishing videos on YouTube. Like, we don't have skills, it's gonna take time. And so if you just get over the fact that, hey, you're bad, right? It's like, your videos are gonna be a lot worse than the best creators out there. And it's like, the sooner you get comfortable with that, then it's like, you know what? It's like a weight is lifted. Then it's like, you can publish. And, you can learn from your mistakes, knowing that, hey, actually it's good as a new person. Like, if nobody's watching your stuff, it makes it easier to be bad, right? Because it's like, hey, you get the experience of publishing your videos, but you don't get like the shame and regret and humiliation knowing that like 100,000 people just saw you be bad. No, it's like 3 people. Like most of my videos, I get like 10 views, right? And it's fine because it's like, no problem. I'm building skills, and not many people, I'm not like, annoying 100,000 people with how bad my videos are. And this is another suggestion I have. Just on my experience, I've done about 40 videos. I would say it's like, if you're gonna, go on one side or the other between quantity and quality, go for more videos. Because, I found, at least for myself, if there's a lot of time between when you publish videos, you're gonna spend a lot of that time not thinking about how to do the next video, but about how poorly your last video did. And so if your cycle time is fast enough, you won't have that much time actually to worry about how the last video did, because you have to stay on the schedule to produce the next video. And I found, at least for myself, that's really helpful. That's it. I hope this is helpful. Have a great day.